I live in a mid-sized apartment complex on the edge of a not-so-great part of the city, far enough from downtown that it's mostly quiet, but close enough to hear sirens every night. I moved here 2 years ago after my divorce. I work nights at a call center, so I usually get home around 1:30 a.m., sometimes later if I miss the right train. The building is old, bricks crumbling in some corners, hallway lights that flicker for no reason, and pipes that bang when it gets too cold. I'm used to it. Honestly, the rent's cheap, and I've never had a real issue. Until about 6 months ago. There's an alley that runs behind the building. Used to be a loading zone back in the day. Now it's just a cracked concrete strip that wraps around the back, littered with busted-up crates and rotting trash bins. There's one working street lamp in the alley. It's halfway down and buzzes faintly whenever you walk by. That's the only light back there. I always cut through it to get to the side entrance. It's faster than walking around the block. Yeah, I know it's not the safest idea, but I'm usually tired, and I just want to get inside. One night, I was heading home like usual. It was just after 2 a.m. The train had been late, and the streets were dead. I turned the corner into the alley and immediately noticed something different. There was a sound, sharp, thin, like metal on metal, like someone dragging a pipe along a fence. It wasn't loud, but it was distinct. Rhythmic. I stopped walking. I looked down the alley but didn't see anyone. The sound stopped. I figured it was a raccoon or maybe a busted AC unit. This building's full of weird noises. I shook it off and kept walking, pulling my jacket tighter. The air felt heavier than usual. I told myself it was just cold. As I reached the side entrance, I thought I heard something, like someone whispering, but not words. More like a breath trying to form one. I paused with my key in the lock and turned around. Nothing, just the empty alley, the buzzing street lamp, and the quiet hum of the city behind me. I got inside and didn't think much about it. Until the next night. I took the same route home, different night, same dead streets. I turned into the alley, and this time I noticed something immediately. The light. That street lamp. It was out. I stopped. The alley was pitch black except for a faint orange glow spilling from my building's side stairwell. I squinted into the dark. No sound, no movement, just silence. I don't know why, but something in me said, "Don't walk. Just don't." I stood there for maybe 30 seconds and then I heard it again, the dragging sound. But this time, it wasn't distant. It was right there, like just a few feet in front of me. Then came a sound I'll never forget, a scream, not a shout, not someone in pain. This was pure animal terror. A woman somewhere in that alley, screaming like her soul was being torn out of her. Then it cut off, just gone, mid-scream, no echo, no footsteps, nothing. My legs locked. I couldn't move. I just stood there, eyes wide, trying to make sense of it. A second later, I heard a door slam somewhere above me. Then another scream, closer, higher pitched. This time it didn't sound like a woman, it sounded like a child, and it came from above me, from one of the windows in my building. I turned and ran inside, heart racing. My keys slipped from my hand twice before I got into my apartment. I didn't sleep that night. I told myself it must have been someone watching a horror movie too loud. I mean, it's a city. People are weird. But something about it didn't sit right. The next day, I asked my upstairs neighbor, nice lady, lives with her teen daughter, if they heard anything strange last night. She paused, then said, "Oh, you heard it too?" She told me that at exactly 2:15 a.m., she woke up to the sound of someone screaming. Not from outside, but from inside the building, like someone was in the hallway. She opened her door and saw nothing, but said the scream seemed to echo from everywhere, like it was in the walls. I felt this chill crawl up my spine. We talked for a while and figured maybe it was a one-time thing, but it wasn't. Over the next 2 weeks, it kept happening, always just after 2 a.m., always starting with that sound, the dragging metal, then the scream. Sometimes it came from outside, sometimes inside. One time it sounded like it was right outside my apartment door. I called the cops, twice. So did other neighbors. They came, walked around, found nothing, said it was probably a prank or a mental health case. They told us to keep our doors locked and call if it escalated. It escalated. About a week later, I was walking home through the alley. Yeah, I kept using it like an idiot when I heard it again. The dragging metal. I froze. This time I saw something. Under the flickering street lamp, something moved. Just a shadow, low to the ground, crawling. I thought it was a dog at first, but the way it moved wasn't right. It was too smooth, too fast, like it was gliding. And then it stood up. I swear to God, it rose from the ground like it was on strings. I couldn't see its face, just a shape. Tall, thin, arms too long. And it turned toward me. I ran. I didn't even try to be quiet. I sprinted into the building and up to my apartment, slammed the door, locked every bolt, and slid to the floor. I didn't sleep that night either. The next morning, the building manager sent out an email saying someone had reported strange activity in the alley. Probably a homeless person, it said. No cause for alarm. I didn't bother replying. What was I supposed to say? A few days after that, things got worse. It was 2:30 a.m. when the fire alarm went off. Loud, blaring. I jumped out of bed, heart hammering. I opened my door and saw people flooding into the hallway. Sleepy, confused, annoyed. We all made our way down the stairs and out into the alley, and then we all froze. The alley was lit up by the emergency lights, and we all heard it. The scream. It came from somewhere above us. Everyone looked up. Windows opened. People started shouting, asking who was screaming, but no one could see anything. Then it happened again. The scream, louder this time, raw. It echoed down into the alley. Someone said, "It's coming from the roof." A group of us, including the manager, rushed back inside, climbed the stairs, made it to the roof access door. It was wide open. We stepped out onto the rooftop, flashlights scanning the dark. Nothing, not a person, not a sound, just wind and the hum of the city. That night, the cops actually took it seriously. They questioned us, searched the building, brought dogs. They didn't find anything. No forced entry, no one on the roof, nothing in the alley. They said maybe it was a disturbed tenant. But no tenant was missing. No one was unaccounted for. Still, they increased patrols, put up a few security cameras, and the screams stopped for a while. It's been 2 months now, quiet, almost too quiet. But last night I was walking home from work again. I took the long way this time. I wasn't going near that alley, but when I rounded the corner of my block, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Under the buzzing street lamp, where it all started, there was a smear on the ground, dark, wet, like something had been dragged. And in the silence of the night, I swear I heard it. The scream, just a whisper, far off. But it was there. To this day, everyone heard those screams. But no one, not one of us, ever saw who was screaming. And I think whatever it is, it's still out there, waiting for someone to look too long, to get too close. My name's Ethan Tran. I'm 29. I work from home full-time as a day trader. I know people think that means I sleep till noon and play around with fake money, but I'm usually up by 5:45 a.m. tracking charts and watching markets open across the globe. My life's quiet by design. I like it that way. I moved to a small town in western Pennsylvania last spring, about 40 minutes outside Pittsburgh. I found a solid deal on a standalone house with a finished basement. It was outdated, sure, but it was affordable and surrounded by woods, peace and quiet. That was the draw. The first few months were uneventful. I didn't know many people, but I didn't mind. I'd go for runs in the morning, do my trading through the day, maybe grab takeout and watch some garbage TV in the evenings. Same rhythm every day, predictable, until August. That was when I started hearing the screams. The first time it happened, it was 3:33 a.m. on the dot. I remember because I looked at the clock as soon as I sat up in bed. It wasn't a faint sound either. It was blood-curdling, like someone being tortured just outside my window. Not yelling, not crying for help, just screaming, raw, cracked throat, pure agony kind of screaming. It lasted maybe 5 seconds, then cut off like someone had hit mute. I shot out of bed, heart hammering. My bedroom overlooks the backyard, and beyond that is just forest. Dense, quiet, black forest. I stood at the window, trying to adjust my eyes. Nothing moved out there. No lights, no wind, no animals. I'm not gonna lie, I was freaked out. I even checked the locks on all my doors and walked through the house with a kitchen knife. Of course, nothing. The next morning, I told myself it was probably a fox or some other animal. I even Googled it. Some people said foxes can make awful sounds, but the scream I heard didn't echo like an animal's. It was human. I know the difference. Still, I brushed it off. Then it happened again, same time. 3:33 a.m. Exactly. This time I was already awake, just flipping through charts in bed. I heard it from the back of the house again. Same scream, same length, 5 seconds of absolute terror, then silence. I froze. I knew it wasn't my imagination. I opened the window and just listened. The crickets were silent. Not another single sound. It was like the whole world had been paused just for that scream. This kept happening, always at 3:33 a.m., never a second early, never late, just that one horrible scream, like someone was reliving the worst moment of their life every single night. By the 5th night, I started recording it. I set up my phone by the window, hit record, and left it there overnight. The next morning, I played it back. The scream was gone. The rest of the night recorded fine, ambient noise, the hum of the AC, but that 5 seconds of time, just silence. I thought maybe my phone glitched, so I tried again. I bought a cheap security camera, set it up to cover the whole backyard. That night, same thing. 3:33 a.m., the scream hit. This time it sounded closer. I bolted out of bed, ran to the monitor to check the footage. Nothing, no sound, no movement, just 5 seconds of corrupted video. A flicker, a pop, then it came back like nothing had happened. That was when I started to realize this wasn't normal, and it wasn't mechanical. I talked to a few neighbors the next day. Most of them were older. When I brought it up, they got cagey real quick. One guy, a retired steelworker named Chuck, told me flat out, "Don't go looking for that noise." He said, "Whatever it is, it don't want you to see it. Just let it pass." That freaked me out more than anything else, because it meant I wasn't the only one hearing it. Eventually, I got brave, or dumb, depending how you look at it. One night, I stayed up with all the lights off. I sat by the window, phone in hand, audio recording, eyes locked on the tree line. I watched the clock on my laptop, 3:33 a.m. It started again, but this time, it wasn't just one scream. There were two, and they came from different directions. One from the woods, one from the side of the house, and then a third, far away, and a fourth, closer. I don't know how to describe the feeling. It was like being in the center of a target, like whatever was out there knew I was listening. And then came the worst part. A knock, one single knock on the back door. I couldn't move. I sat there in the dark, holding my breath, phone shaking in my hand. The knock didn't come again. When I finally worked up the nerve to turn on the lights and check the door, no one was there. Just wet footprints on the wooden porch, barefoot, human-shaped, leading away from the door into the woods. After that night, it stopped for a while. A whole week went by without a single sound. I thought maybe it was over. Then it came back, but this time, during the day. It was 11:52 a.m. I was mid-trade, staring at 3 monitors, totally focused. The scream hit like a gunshot. Loud. Closer than ever. It didn't come from outside. It came from the basement. I nearly flipped my chair over, jumping up. I grabbed the same kitchen knife I'd been using for weeks and crept down the stairs. I flipped the basement light. Nothing. Except one thing. The floor had dirt on it. A trail of it, like someone had tracked it in barefoot. The prints led to the far corner, where the breaker box is. Right in that corner, the air was freezing. I could see my breath. I didn't find anything else. But after that, the screaming changed. It wasn't once a night anymore. Or even just at 3:33. It started happening at random times. Morning, afternoon, middle of dinner. And always for exactly 5 seconds, never more. It drove me insane. I couldn't focus. I stopped trading. I stopped sleeping. My hands were shaking all the time. And the worst part, no one else could hear it anymore. I'd call friends while it happened, dead silence on their end. I'd record it again. Nothing, not even corrupted files. Just me, screaming back at nothing. One night I had enough. I left my house, went to a motel 30 miles away, middle of nowhere. Just a gross little room with a static TV and musty curtains. I felt better. Until 3:33 a.m. The scream came again, louder than ever, right outside the motel room door. And this time, it was followed by a voice. It whispered through the door, "You left too late." I didn't sleep again after that. I moved 2 months later, packed up what I could, left most of it behind. Took a job that doesn't let me work from home anymore. I live in a condo now, downtown, lots of people, no woods, but sometimes I still wake up at 3:33, no sound, no screams, but I can feel something waiting, just outside my window. My name's Lena Marsh. I'm 26, and last year my fiancé and I were looking to buy our first home. He's a software engineer. I'm a dental hygienist. We were doing okay for our age and figured it was time to get out of our little apartment in the city. We weren't looking for anything crazy, just a starter home, something affordable, quiet, maybe a little yard. We ended up finding this place about 20 minutes outside town in a cul-de-sac of older brick ranch homes. The kind of neighborhood where the mailboxes still creak when you open them and the sidewalks are cracked but familiar. It felt lived in, safe. The house itself was small, a little outdated, but it had potential. Hardwood floors, a backyard, a decent kitchen. One weird thing though, the seller had boarded up a window in the smallest bedroom, like fully covered it from the inside with wooden panels and drywall. When we asked the realtor, she acted like it wasn't a big deal, said there'd been a leak issue and it was just easier to seal it up. She promised the inspection showed no mold or water damage, so we let it go. We bought the house a few weeks later, moved in that August. That sealed window stuck in my mind, but I figured we'd deal with it eventually. The first few weeks were uneventful. We painted, made a bunch of trips to Home Depot, argued over curtain colors, all the usual first home stuff. We turned that small room into a guest room/office, even though it always felt a little off. Stale, heavy, like the air didn't move right. And then one night, we heard it. It was maybe 3:20 in the morning. Both of us were asleep when we got jolted awake by this piercing scream. I can't stress this enough. This wasn't someone yelling, it was screaming. High, female, like someone being ripped apart, and it was close, like it was coming from inside the house. My fiancé, Carter, jumped out of bed, grabbed the bat we keep by the closet, and tore through the hallway, yelling, "Hello!" I followed right behind him. Nothing. We checked every room. The doors were locked. No broken windows, no open closets, nothing. But when we got to the small guest room, the one with the sealed window, the air was cold, like winter cold. Our skin actually prickled from it. Carter said maybe it was a nightmare. We went back to bed, both pretending to believe that. It happened again 2 nights later. This time it was exactly 3:33 a.m. And this time it didn't just wake us. Our neighbors heard it too. The older couple next door, Mr. and Mrs. Juno, knocked on our door the next morning, asking if everything was okay. They said they heard screaming, but couldn't tell where it was coming from. They were worried someone had broken in. We told them we didn't know either, that it might have been a TV. They didn't look like they believed us, but didn't push. After that, the pattern started. Every 2 or 3 nights, always at exactly 3:33 a.m. Always the same scream, always from the same part of the house. We started to dread the nights. I even set an alarm for 3:30 just to beat it. But it didn't help. One night, Carter had this idea to unseal the window. He thought maybe it was some kind of trapped air or bad insulation playing tricks on us. So we did it, took down the drywall, pried off the boards, pulled out the old nails. It took all weekend. What we found behind it wasn't what we expected. There was a window, but it was different than the others. Narrower, older, and the glass wasn't clear. It was cloudy and warped, like someone had tried to frost it over from the inside. And right in the center of the glass were scratch marks. 5 long, jagged scratches, like someone had clawed it from within. I told Carter to seal it back up. He didn't argue. That night the scream came again, but it didn't sound like it was coming from the room anymore. It sounded like it was coming from inside the window. We called a contractor the next day and asked if anyone had ever died in the house. He said the records were clean, but then I did my own digging. I searched the address, nothing in recent history, but I found an old article from 1993 buried in a local paper's archives. The house had once belonged to a woman named Jolene Meyer, lived alone. According to the article, police were called after neighbors heard unusual nighttime disturbances. Screams. When they broke in, they found the house empty. The only sign of anything strange was a small bedroom in the back with a broken window and scratches on the glass. The woman was never found. I didn't tell Carter about that part. After that, the scream didn't just come at night. It started spreading. One morning around 9 a.m., I was brushing my teeth when I heard it, just outside the bathroom window. I nearly dropped the toothbrush. Then at noon, Carter called me from the driveway. He was about to leave for work when he heard it, coming from inside the car. The scream. Just for 5 seconds. Then silence. We were unraveling. We tried bringing in a priest. He didn't finish the blessing. Said he felt sick the moment he stepped in the guest room. Walked out shaking. Told us to find someone with more experience. We stopped sleeping, kept lights on, slept in shifts. Then one night, I snapped. I went into that guest room and sat in front of the sealed window. 3:30 a.m. I waited. I stared at the warped glass, waiting for it. 3:33. The scream came, so loud I covered my ears. But then I saw something. In the warped reflection of the glass, I saw myself. But behind me, there was someone else. A woman. Pale, mouth open, like she was mid-scream. No eyes, just dark sockets. Hair floating like she was underwater. I turned around so fast I fell backwards, but there was no one there. When I looked back at the glass, it was just me. I never went back into that room again. We moved out 3 weeks later, took a huge loss on the sale, but we didn't care. The people who bought it were investors, planning to flip it, said they didn't believe in ghost crap. We didn't argue. But here's the thing. 2 nights ago, Carter and I were eating dinner in our new apartment. We were laughing, talking about how crazy the past year had been, and then, right at 3:33 a.m., our smoke alarm went off for no reason. It screamed, just for 5 seconds, then went silent. And the next morning, on our bedroom window, we found 5 scratch marks in the glass. We don't know how they got there. We don't want to know.